6 apartment tours, 16 units, and not a single leasing agent asked me to apply. One never said his name. Another one, well, they told me to write my contact information on a sticky note. Another one, well, he answered his phone mid-tour to talk about missing golf cart keys. And I wish I was kidding. Apartment homes weren't ready, questions weren't asked, and follow-up? Well, let's not get started on that. If this is what we're calling leasing, it's no wonder prospects start ghosting. Today, I'm breaking down the real stories behind 6 real apartment tours I recently did, where things went wrong, what barely passed, and the one agent who proved that great leasing isn't dead. It's just rare. Let's get into it.
Hello, welcome to the Rooms with Ronald podcast, brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network. I'm your host, Ronald Harrington. In 2023, I set an intention to shop 100 apartment communities to see how leasing was evolving around the country. Rooms with Ronald was born out of that experience. In this series, I share my experiences and engage in meaningful conversations with other professionals in the industry as we discuss all things related to leasing and marketing. Join in as we expand the Rooms with Ronald experiment.
Welcome back to another edition of Rooms with Ronald. I'm your host, Ronald Harrington, and today it's just me, and we're going to talk about leasing. Today's episode is a deep dive into 6 very real leasing experiences. No fluff, no sugarcoating, just raw, unfiltered truth about how leasing teams are showing up. Or not. Whether you're a leasing pro, a regional manager, or someone looking for a new place to call home, buckle up because we're going on tour. Recently, I went and I shopped 6 apartment communities in a downtown area nearby to where I live. Now, as you know, I travel all over the country, but this is the first time I actually shopped in this specific market. So I didn't know what to expect. I went on to apartments.com to try to find where I was going to shop. And I was a little worried that I wasn't going to be able to find 5 management companies that were different. It was a struggle, but we did. After some last minute changes, we found 5 different management companies where we could shop to see what the experience was like. This is the first time in the 2 years that I've been doing shops that I haven't shopped on a garden style community. This was all mid-rise and high-rise apartment communities, aging in, historic buildings to brand new builds. So let's jump in. Now, the first apartment community I had toured, I was in for a little treat because I didn't know that this site specifically was kind of like a cluster site and they leased for other sites that I had an appointment booked for at the end of the day. So I didn't know that going in, which was a great surprise to me. So let's just talk about kind of the experience. I didn't get a confirmation when I put my guest card in online that I would be, hey, we're excited to see you, nothing, which was totally unique to me. So I arrived to the property where there is a call box. So I got buzzed in by the office staff. I walked in, the leasing professional just sat there, didn't stand up, didn't introduce himself, and said, hey, I'll be right with you. Have a seat over there. Oh, okay. This is how we're starting the tour. I wasn't early. I wasn't late. I was right on time. It got weirder, guys. So we're going, he finally says, okay, I'm ready for you. He then says, what's your name? I'm like, I have a 10 o'clock. My name is Ronald. At no point during the conversation did he introduce himself. I never knew his name. He mentioned that he saw I was interested in another community and really kind of just really started to sell against that community. said it that he felt I would get more bang for my buck at this community, that there was on-site amenities, a little bit larger floor plans, all these different things, which I found very odd to be selling against your sister community in that manner, right? Like that was like, oh, weird. Um, but okay, cool. So we started the tour. He did ask for my ID, which was a win. And he said, now, unfortunately, I know you're interested in a one bedroom. I don't have anything that I can show as the team was getting it ready, but I do have a 2-bedroom apartment home that we can look at. So that way you can get a feel for the cabinets, the fixtures, the space, right? And I'm like, okay, not a problem. So we go on the tour. We get there. He doesn't really ask me any questions. All he knows about me is my move-in date and my price range. Those are the only 2 questions that he has asked this whole time, right? I was glad to see he reviewed my guest card and saw that I was going somewhere else. Not a problem at all. It was a weird tour, right? We get to the space, and it's a 2-bedroom. He doesn't really explain the differences of a 1-bedroom. He's like, oh, when we go back downstairs, I'll show you the floor plan. I'm like, okay, cool. Not a lot of questions about, what brought me to this area. He did ask if I was familiar with the downtown area, and I said no. So he tried to explain some landmarks to me, but we were in a place that didn't have any windows at this time. And he's like, oh, well, when we go back downstairs, everything was when we go back downstairs that he explained to me. But he did a great job. We talked about it. I asked about the price of the 2-bedroom just to see if it was in my price range, and he really wasn't exactly sure. He said he would have to follow up with me on that price. They had some special pricing. There was some concessions on the 2-bedroom and things like that. Then we kind of went down to toward the amenity space. Again, really nice amenity space. We get to the gym, fairly good size for this type of buildings. And I'm like walking around, and you know me, I love the elliptical. I love my cardio. And I noticed that the elliptical was wet. And there was like puddles on the pedal of the elliptical. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And there's a big bucket, something's dripping. And I'm like, okay, so I continue to go. I go into the fitness on demand room. He kind of walks me through that. But he is so preoccupied, guys, with this dripping ceiling that's being caught by the elliptical and the buckets. I could tell he had not walked this space yet. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. We're going to leave this door open. I'm going to have to investigate that a little bit later. I haven't been down here yet this morning. We could have saved some surprises had you walked it before I showed up. But that's okay. That's okay. Now, we talked about pets. I asked about the pet policy. He told me the pet be in the pet rent, but nothing else. Didn't ask if I was bringing a dog. Didn't ask why I was asking that. He did say that if the pet I was referring to was a ESA, those fees wouldn't apply. But he took no time to connect with that. We did connect over his cousin who was living in LA and in California, and my love for California and things like that, but nothing of substance that allowed me to be like, this is it, right? The apartment was ready. That was it. It was just kind of scripted, very robotic, very quiet. Not a lot to be gained from me as a prospect, and I didn't know if I would really want to live there. Here's my takeaways. First impressions don't have to be flashy, right? I'm not expecting the bells and the whistles, but they do have to be human. A warm hello, clear expectations, just some basic engagement can go a long way. This is where things turned interesting on this tour, though. As I was leaving, he says, oh, I see you're going to be touring at this community at 3:00. And I'm like, yeah, it's the one he was selling against when we first started. Cool. Just so you know, I'll meet you there. And I was like, oh, so you're going to be the one giving me the tour. He's like, yeah, absolutely. Here's the missed opportunity on that. why not identify my needs and questions to save yourself time to having to go to another property and save me time if it wasn't going to meet my needs? I understand me wanting to see it and things like that. But if you would have taken some time to identify what was important to me, you could have saved yourself time there. It was a missed opportunity. And maybe there were other apartments, communities in the area, and I know they were because he told me where they had access to a swimming pool and things like that, that he could have referred me to that could have met my needs. That was a missed opportunity. It's only getting rockier from here, my friends. So we transitioned to property number 2 with a different leasing agent, because remember, that one I was going to go see is later in the day. So here we are, second property, second management company. AI supposedly set the appointment. Well, the human forgot the rest. So I get to this brand new, beautiful entrance. There are revolving doors in 2 different places. It gave me old bank vibes. I don't know what it was, but that's what it gave me. So I walk into the first revolving door. It's locked. I go down a little bit to the second revolving door. It's locked. I see a single door where I see the butterfly system, and I'm like, oh, this is probably the leasing office. No signage that says leasing office. Nada. Zip, zelts, zero. So I'm about to go to the little box and call. And finally, someone opens the door for me. And they said, oh, hi. How can I help you? And I said, oh, I'm here for a tour. And she was like, oh, where did you book the tour at? Okay, guys, I've been asked a lot of questions before, but never where I booked the tour at. Is this the new, how did you hear about us? Right? Is that what we're going for? And I was like, oh, well, I went to the website and I put in my guest card. And she was like, okay. And I said, then I got a response from somebody. And she's like, well, who's your tour with? And I was like, oh, well, let me find the email. So now I'm scrambling to find the email who this tour was supposed to be with. So I finally find it. One person initiated the conversation. I responded that I was looking for a tour. And then a second person picked it up, confirmed the tour, gave me the information. Guess who that person was? The lady at the door. So I tell her this whole story, and she says, oh, no, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. We recently started using a chat bot that took over. Okay, couple things wrong with this. As a prospect, I don't care what you're using. All I know is I'm here to tour. Let's get to that. Second thing is I've used a lot of chatbots. It never has it given me 2 different leasing agents' names. Usually it gets me its own name because properties do that. So she tells me about how they implemented it last week. She saw my name on a report, but I wasn't interacting with her. That is a missed opportunity. So we finally are ready to go. She asked me what I'm looking for. I tell her I'm looking for a 1-bedroom. She's like, oh my gosh, that's what we have. Come on in. So we get into the elevator, we go up and we go in to start to look at the fitness center, except for someone's cleaning it or shampooing the carpets or something. We can't see it. So she opens up the door and says, okay, go ahead and look in here. Just be careful. So I do. I'm like, okay, it's a good gym. So then we go over across and she goes, I want you to go into the lounge while I pull the keys for some apartments for us to go see. So I walk into this lounge and it's minimal. Some very minimal lounge. Like the fireplace was cool. Like it wasn't real, but it looked real and it had like steam, like real steam, which was from water, she told me. It had some TV areas. The counter looked like maintenance was still there. There was some big gulps from 7-Eleven sitting on there. So I don't know if that was trash or anything. The coffee machine was already broken, something about a water line. And so I'm like looking around and I wasn't for sure what exactly I was supposed to be doing because she never came back. Like it took her like 6 minutes to come back with these keys. Okay, maybe not 6 minutes, like 4 or 5, but it was a long time for me just to be like standing there. So she finally comes back and she's like, okay, I'm ready to go. So we go to the units, guys. We go and she's like, we're going to start out on the 15th floor. Cool. Love the 15th floor. She's like, I think it's going to give you an idea of the views. They only get better going up. And if you don't like those views, things like that. And I'm like, okay, not a problem. So we walk in the first unit. It's not ready. It's construction, things like that. I get it. But she never even told me that. So I finally said, oh, are you renovating? Like, is this a new build? You just started leasing? She's like, oh yeah, we just started April 1st. In total, guys, we saw 5 different units. Not one of them were ready. She could have saved herself a lot of time had she identified the basic needs. We didn't get into all she knew is my moving date and my size of apartment. We never discussed my price range, how much I was looking to spend. And actually, anytime I would talk about pricings, she said she would get back to me in a follow-up on what that was, because there was just so many specials going on and so many pricings that it would just be hard for me to keep straight. And one of the apartments, we made a small spark of a connection. We bonded, you guessed it, over my love for Starbucks mugs. But she took it a step further. We were talking about my curio cabinets and I was trying to place it and I was describing it. I'm like, oh, I think the second unit was actually the unit that would have worked best for me. And I even said that. But again, we proceeded to see 3 more units. Here's what I loved about it though. So she took from apartment 2 my love for Starbucks mugs, and in apartment 3, she said, now, because I know you have Starbucks mugs, that tells me you probably have a coffee maker and you probably love coffee. The cool thing about our apartments is that the outlets are underneath the cabinet. So they're tucked away. So you will never have to like show those cords. I thought that was really cool, a really cool connection to take from my Starbucks mug, my love of coffee, and assume that I have a coffee maker and tell me where those were. That was really cool. We didn't bond over anything else though. It was very like run of the mill. I love that she told me that she's leased apartments her whole life, but she's never actually went and toured an apartment community to lease on her own. We talked about the soundproof walls and, she was telling me how I can hang cords if I needed to and where they would go, and be careful where I drill in because it would be expensive if I were to drill into this section of the wall because they'd have to replace the whole wall, things like that. We get down. Never did she ask me about pets, what brought me to the area, what was important to me, nothing. She was very stuck on the view and what type of view I wanted. Again, probably the least thing that's important to me is the view of the apartment. I'm not home a lot. So we get down and I'm ready to go over pricing. She was like, okay, so I'm just going to email this over to you, our pricing and the specials, again, because there's so many different specials. I ask about the income qualifications and the application process. She doesn't do a great job at answering it. It's always I'm going to email you. I'm going to email you. I'm going to email you. She didn't even know the pricing of the apartment home. So what if they were out of my range? All of that, right? There was those little things that I was giving the clues that I was super interested, but yet she never still asked me to apply. Here's my key takeaways from this. AI can't do it all. Don't tell your people that it's AI, that you just set it up, because it sounds like an excuse. You have to train your team to step in with competence and clarity, because then the tech just becomes a barrier, not a tool. As for the sell, take the buying signal, me asking for the application process, giving me everything to make a decision, know that, so I can already be there. The third one was walk, talk, and a whirlwind, right? This was one that I added that very day because of my first experience knowing that I was going to be touring with the same person. I wanted to give you guys 5 truly different experiences. So I booked this one for the day, in the day, to see that experience. I got there, I was buzzed in, I was greeted well. Like, she stood up, she was bubbly. I met the manager told me the person's name, she passed me off. I told her I had booked a tour for this time and I was looking for a 1 or 2 bedroom, and we were off to the races, guys. Stood up reddish. She was like, we can walk and we can talk at the same time. It's going to be great. The efforts kind of stopped at that point. Um, we saw five, 4 different apartments at this community. 4 different apartments. Now, here's the thing about this. I looked online and I knew that they had some tax credit and they had some market rate. Their market rate said to call for details for the 1 bedroom, that they did have some 2 bedroom market rates available. So that's why I said I was looking for a 1 or 2 bedroom. She really didn't give me anything else, right? Like, that's all she knew. She didn't ask price range. She didn't really care about move-in date, nothing of that. It was just so quick. There was like in and out. Now, here's where things got iffy. She says she just got these units from maintenance. So I'm like, oh, they're freshly turned units. No, that's not what they were. They were brand new move outs. I mean, like, fresh move outs that I wasn't even sure that they had fully moved out yet, because every single one of them still had furniture in them. Now, the cool thing about this building is that it was a historic building, so none of the units were similar. Some had cabinets, some had like building cabinets, the floors. I mean, truly a unique experience. But no personalization to tie any of that in. When we were talking about a 1 or 2 bedroom, I said, yeah, she asked me if I made more than X amount of dollars, because that was going to determine which type of unit I qualified for. So I knew I was going to qualify for market rate, not a problem. So we go through and I said, well, that's why I was kind of interested in a 2 bedroom, because I knew that you had 2 bedroom market rent available, but you didn't have any 1 bedroom. She's like, oh, well, I don't know if that's accurate or not. But when we get back down to the office, I'll ask the manager if we have some 1 bedroom market rate. We never went to the other building to see the 2 bedroom. Come to find out, I, the prospect, knew more information about the property than the leasing agent. So we get down to the office. The manager says, no, we don't have any 1 bedroom market rates. We might have one coming available soon. He just hasn't given the notice yet. Okay, cool. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to write your information on a sticky note, and I will send you the link to the application, and you can go ahead and apply for the apartment for a 1 bedroom. That application will be good for 120 days. When one comes available, I'll call you. You can come see it. And then if you want to, you can then do the deposit, and that will take it off the apartment. That was the solution. Not that I was I think the girl forgot I was interested in a 2 bedroom as well. Right? Never brought it up. To this day, I had yet to receive the link to the application or any information about it. So I don't know if it's available. We never talked about pets. We never talked about fees. We never talked about any of that. It was apartment, 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 apartment. Then we get up to the gym, and the gym, well, she didn't have a key for, but told me I could peek in. She didn't have a key for the community room, but I could peek in. Guys, what are we doing? Why aren't we prepared? Now, I will take a small fraction of the responsibility for the tour not being great, because I booked the tour an hour and a half before I showed up. I don't usually do that, but this time I did, and I was reminded why. But here's the thing, guys. Your prospects, they're not going to take the responsibility. So if you're not prepared to take same-day tours, don't allow it on your chatbots. questions because that's what I interacted with. Key takeaway here, if the prospect leaves with more questions than answer, the tour wasn't effective. It was just my cardio for the day. And if you're not going to follow up with me, don't ask for my information. Or, $1 million thought here, look me up in the system. I told you I booked an appointment online. Why not take the quick second to look it up in the system? So to this day, I'm still wondering, what happened to that sticky note? Who has my name, my phone number, and my email address? Is it in the trash? Did someone take it out the desk? Or is it on the back of a piece of paper? Okay, so now we're moving along to our fourth tour of the day. I arrived to this tour on time, ready to go. I walked in, I was confident. The person in the office was helping someone else. Again, not a problem. I get it. They talk about it. He leaves. She comes out and says, "Hi, how can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm here for a tour at 1:00. And she was like, "Okay, do you know who it's with?" No, I don't know who it's with. I said, "Sorry, let me maybe find an email where someone tells me who it was with." I said, "I hadn't talked to anyone. I did it online." She's like, "Oh, okay. Let me go look." So she comes out. She's like, "Oh, you're going to be touring with this person. They're out on another tour. So just have a seat. They'll be with you shortly." Signal number one is you don't have time to tour me. Okay, so I'm not important. Why did I book it? I waited 10 minutes past my tour for this person to come in. So then he comes in by himself. He had no one else with him. So I'm not sure if he really had a tour, if he was running late for lunch, maybe he was in the bathroom. I don't know. So he comes in, the lady comes back out. She's on the phone at this point. He was like, "Oh, you must be waiting for me." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." She then starts to ask him questions about an application. So I'm already 10 minutes late. I waited on you. Now you're taking more time. So she's asking him questions about the application. Oh, they're on the phone. What are we waiting on? Proof of income. She did this. It was a whole conversation that I probably didn't need to be a part of. So instantly, I felt my time at this community was not valued. Right? So again, late interruptions. Let's go. So he's like, "Okay, come on. I'm ready for you now." And we start, and he was like, "Are you just interested in this property? This area has like a cluster of this management company." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's it." So we start to see the 1-bedroom. That's what I'm looking for. No point does he ask me anything else. We see the first apartment, and I'm like, "Okay, this works. Cool view of a baseball diamond," things like that. Halfway through the tour, I think he came alive or he recovered from his last tour. And he's like, "Oh, well, I guess I should really kind of ask you, like, what's your price range?" We already saw 2 apartments at this point. We saw a total of 5 apartments at this community. So on the second one is when you wanted to know my price range. I'm like, so I tell him, like, "Okay, so I think I have this one that's going to be fitting your needs." So we go down there. We start to bond over, eating healthy because I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so much walking. It's amazing." He's like, "Yeah, I lost 20 pounds when I first started here, but I think I plateaued." Then he's like, "Oh, I think it's more about eating than anything at this point." I'm like, "Oh, I get it. I'm doing the same thing. Like I fast and I have a sweet tooth, so I love cherries and bananas and things like that I can get in the summertime that I can eat as my healthy snack versus the junk." So we're going on. It's pretty like quiet as we go to these apartments. So we're in the fourth apartment. We're just locking up and we're closing down and we're walking out. And his cell phone rings. And he looks at it and he looks at me and he looks at his phone and he says, "Oh, hey, I'm gonna have to take this. It's my boss." So he answers his phone on the tour. And I guess he has the keys to the golf cart. And he's like, yeah, I'm on tour. I'll bring him down to you. I'll bring him down to you. So we go see one more apartment. And at this point, now I feel rushed because he has to get the keys to the golf cart. They only have one set of keys to the golf cart. So we walk out and we're going down, and I'm not sure what he's trying to show me at this point. So we go down this hallway and we get there, and he like turns the corner and he's like, oh, nope, that's not it. Come to find out, he was looking for his boss to give her the keys to the golf carts. So he's like, okay, so let's just go back to the office. So we walk out. The person who's, I'm assuming, going on the tour in the golf cart, that prospect is sitting there. He's like, hey, did you see whoever the lady was? And he was like, oh yeah, she went that way, which was the way we came. He was like, okay, cool. So we go inside. He was like, okay, well, that concludes our tour. But let me give you my card. And if you have any questions, let me know. And that's how we ended the tour. Okay. Key takeaways from this tour, guys. So many. First off, let's respect people's time. And what that means to me is being ready, right? So, and that's everyone. Know what's going on in the tours for the day, right? Who's showing up, what time. So when someone walks in, if that person's not there, someone else steps in. It means being focused. It means being present. Don't answer your cell phone. Okay? I mean, you totally took me out of the zone. To me, this felt more like I was running errands with him than I was being helped. Again, a little bit goes a long way. We could have saved ourselves time by knowing my move-in date, knowing my price point. He rattled off the specials and things like that. I will give him credit, though. He did follow up with me the next day. I wasn't sure because it was so much a blur, but he did follow up with me. He told me what unit and he gave me the specials. After 5 apartments later, we get to property number 5. Now, this one I booked online. I got a phone call, which I didn't answer, but she left a voicemail. Super excited in her voicemail, very bubbly. So that resonated with me. I got a follow-up email with every detail that I needed, confirming my appointment even, with photos of the 1-bedroom. So I show up, I walk up the stairs. She greets me at the door. Not only does she greet me at the door, she opens it and she's like, you must be Ronald. Come on in. Instantly, I was captured. I was there. I was in the moment. She was prepared. She sat down. She said, did you get a chance to look over my email? Like, what questions do you have? I gave her my list of questions. She was able to answer them. So she was prepared. She was informed. She was upbeat without being over the top. And trust me, that is a fine line because I am over the top when I'm upbeat. Not only did she answer my questions, she anticipated my question. She gave me the information before we were even asking them. On the tour, I met the porter. I know his name. I know what he looks like. I felt welcomed. I felt seen. I saw the gym. And the way she sold this gym, because this building was built in the 1900s, right? Early 1900s. So we go into the gym and it's open 24 hours. And she says, do you want to know why the gym's open 24 hours? And I'm like, sure. Where's this going? But sure. She goes, these walls, north and south and east and west, they are concrete. You can't hear anything in these apartments. That's why we can have them open 24 hours. They are natural soundproof. You don't get that in new construction. Guys, that was like a mic drop moment for me. I had never ever in all my tours had someone come in and sell concrete walls like that to me. It was so cool. I thought she did a great job with that. So we get done and we're walking around. We get back up to the office and we sit down. And I'm like, oh, are we not going to get to see a unit? She's like, No, honey, I told you that the apartment, we weren't able to see that unit. That's why I sent you photos. And I guess I didn't really pick up on that. I mean, the email was super long, right? I mean, there was a lot of information. I was like, oh, okay, well, can you tell me which way the apartment is facing? Anything. So the manager comes out. So now I met the porter, I met the leasing manager, and now I've met the manager. And so she was like, oh, yeah. So they walked me through where it was facing. This is where I err on the side of caution. So while she was bubbling, she answered all the questions. She was great. She did something that I don't recommend. She told me about the resident profile and the resident demographics. 40% are associated with this company or this area. The other 40% are your educators, your doctors, things like that. And then, our 20% are your young professionals, things to those natures. That could borderline fair housing. And so be very cautious of that if you're going to do that. Not only does she say it on the tour, she actually put it in writing in the email. She didn't mention families or anything like that. So if I had family, I might have been a little put off from that area. My biggest takeaways here, though, is she didn't need perfection. What you need is preparation, personality, and care. And this tour proved it. And she was confident, but she wasn't cocky. She did one of the Ronald lines that I like to do is like, no one else has a Ronald. I know that. You'll be back. They always come back because I know what I bring and the value I bring just in myself. You're not going to find that anywhere else. And had I really been in the market ready to apply, even though she did not ask me to apply, that was the community I would have chosen. Which brings us down to the last one. I'm going back to where I started with the same guide. So I get to the property, I get buzzed in. This is what I finally learned his name from the intercom. We spend 10 minutes. We are in the apartment. We saw one. And he was right. The value does go further at the other property. Had we had this conversation, we could have saved us some time and energy of us both having to re-meet again because he didn't add a lot of value. While we were in that property, which is also offering a special, he still continued to sold the value of the first community, which could be good or bad. If that community needed the occupancy and the one we were in didn't, that's great. That's where you wanted to shift my business to. Cool. But that wasn't the case. They were both offering specials. We could have saved ourselves 10 minutes and I could have went about my day. You could have went about your day had he kind of helped me understand and truly understand what I wanted in the apartment because this one was smaller. The only difference is that it was more up to date. So here are my final thoughts from my 6 tours. Again, it goes back to this. Leasing isn't about the building. Never is. It never has been. I mean, I saw historic buildings and I saw new builds. It's about the experience. Leave them thinking about something. What I didn't say in one of the properties that I saw is that when we were seeing the 4 and 5 apartments, one apartment, someone had used the restroom and there was still proof in the toilet. And I'm going to leave you with that. Take that with as you was. Most of these tours missed the mark because they missed me. They didn't get to know me. It felt scripted. It felt I was bothering them. How dare I show up and want to live where they work? The leasing foundation's name, needs, price range, follow-up were skipped or half done. And that one tour that worked wasn't because of polished units, because we didn't see any units. It was because the approach was polished. If your leasing team spent half as much time preparing for the people as they do the units, maintenance spends a lot of time turning these units. They're preparing these units. If we could get our teams just to do half of that on the office side, we would see a massive rate in closing ratios and customer satisfactions. Out of the 6 tours I went on, only one felt like it was more than a time slot. And that's sad. If you're in leasing, I challenge you, make every person feel like they're the only tour you have that day. It doesn't matter. Don't be like the one property where it was back-to-back tours. Treat me like as if I was the only person that day that was touring with you. Like I was the only one that matters. That's the real difference. That's what earns you the lease. Well, guys, let me just tell you, out of my 6 tours this day, I saw an average of 2.6. That's because 1, I saw none, and a couple I saw 2. But most of the time, I was seeing 4 and 5. Half of them showed me at least 4 apartments. But yet, my average tour time was 17.83 minutes. It was a mad dash to see how many units can this person see, and we'll hope they pick one. That's not how we do it. If you've ever toured an apartment, you know that you made the decisions based off your life choices. And I want you to take that into consideration and help me put the faith back into our customer service, back into our leasing teams. Until next time, guys, you've been listening to Rooms with Ronald. I'm your host, Ronald Harrington, and we just recapped my 6 tours of 16 apartment communities, all mid-rise or high-rise. Until next time, guys, happy leasing. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in today. I hope I left you with some fresh ideas or a new perspective. Leasing and marketing are evolving rapidly, and Rooms with Ronald is committed to offering a place to hear about those changes. We also celebrate and acknowledge the fundamentals of exceptional service that will never go out of style. So, if you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, or subscribe. Visit multifamilymedianetwork.com to learn more about our other exceptional industry podcasts, thought pieces, and sponsorship opportunities.